What's up, YouTube? HPJ here, and I'm coming at you guys, of course, with a deck profile for the Witchcraft. So, like I said in the discussion videos, I will have deck profiles up for each archetype as soon as possible. And I did a lot of more research a little after I finished each of the discussion videos. I was doing some research the week before. Like, it's a lot you have to do when it comes to a lot of these decks because one, they are still new, even though a lot of their stuff is online to test out and everything. And the other thing is, I really need to read card effects. I needed to really understand what each of the cards did. Because a lot of them are really amazing, especially this lovely lady right here, because the boss monster of the deck, she is amazing. Like, I didn't really like the other monster, the Golem Ares, as much, but I feel she is still a valuable monster. Unfortunately, in the TCG, she is not out currently. We still have to wait for her to come out. I think she's either in the next core set or she's in the core set after. But without further ado, I'm going to go into deck profile with the current cards that we have here in the TCG. So, if I do pronounce names wrong, I do apologize. And if I don't know the name, I'll just switch it for the Japanese name, the translated name that was used. Because a lot of these names, just so a heads up, are based off of European names for people who work in the arts, like blacksmiths and pottery and all that. So if I do switch up the names, that's primarily why, because I don't know. I can't really. I'm not gonna waste time trying to pronounce names if I can't really pronounce them. So I do apologize. All right, so the first monster up for the lineup is three copies of Witchcraft Madame Vere. I'm running two copies of Hina, two copies of Idol, three copies of Blacksmith, three copies of Gems, two copies of Pottery, and three copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. For my spells, I'm running three copies of Witchcraft Creation, three copies of Holiday, two copies of Drafting, two copies of Bay Street, and one copy of Scroll. For the rest of the spells, I'm running two copies of Secret Village of the Spellcasters, two copies of Terraforming, two copies of Foolish Burial of Goods, two copies of Call by the Grave, one copy of Metal Foes Fusion, one copy of Regeki, and one copy of Monster Reborn. And that is it for the main deck. For the extra, I'm running two copies of Underclock Taker, one copy each of the Nightmare Engine. I'm running Cerberus, Phoenix, and Unicorn. I'm running one copy of the Beautiful Summon Sorceress, one copy of Barrel Load Dragon and Barrel Sword Dragon, and then it's followed by the Utopia package of Utopia Ray, Utopia the Lightning, and Utopia himself. One copy of Babuska, a copy of Exciton Knight, a copy of Abyss Dweller, and Gaga Cowboy. So the whole what it is of witchcraft, I keep calling it wind witches, is that they support spellcasters. They essentially the high level monsters. They really do support spellcasters. And a unique thing about we haven't had really good spellcaster in support for a minute, so it's nice to see spellcasters support spellcasters. I think the last time we've seen it was what spellbooks, and that was indirectly because of the large amount of spells that the deck can run to benefit every spellcaster that was inside that deck, regardless if your name was spellbook or not. And I did mention our pay image to the spell books because I think that would be a great side engine if you guys were deciding to, if anyone was deciding to. It was just a big suggestion. I thought it's like, the spellcaster engine works well. Why not throw in some spellbook prophecies, throw in some of the spellbook of knowledge, a couple of wonder wands, and see how well it goes. So maybe one time I'll try that out. I'll try the variation that runs the spellbooks engine and see how it goes with Madame Vere because she is amazing. So what she does is she reveals the number of spell cards in your hand with different names. During the damage calculation for each one of those with a different name, the spellcaster type monster involved in battle will gain 1,000 attack and defense points. So not one or the other, no, both. So that way it can either run over stuff or if someone's stupid enough to run something into it, that monster can protect itself. Her other ability is that she can discard a spell card to negate all the face-up effects of monsters your opponent currently controlled until the end of the turn. So she has a way of getting over a ton of heavy hitters. She has a way of getting over a ton of problematic monsters without having to really sacrifice anything, because the way the witchcraft spell cards work, you can retrieve them during the end phase and not have a problem with being able to discard them. So if you have multiple copies of a certain spell and you're not wanting to use it, you can just use something else in exchange. I'm only running 2 copies of Hina, and the only reason why I'm running 2 copies of Hina is primarily because Hina's effect isn't that bad, but it's her other effect, because it only really targets face-up cards, and I'd rather be able to hit face down cards as well. So if she does, it is a quick effect, which isn't a bad thing, because it can hit, things coming in trying to trigger, or at least the once per turn effect cards. But in response, I think most of the time I'm going to try to protect my monsters with her effect, and that's primarily what I want her to do. Then I'm going to move over to Idol, and I love Idol because she's pretty much our special summoner. And another thing I pointed out in the session video was talking about uh, Magician Circle, because she is a target for Magician Circle. That you can easily get her out if you want to play that variation. Magician Circle, summon her, activate her effect, get a witchcraft monster from your hand, tribute her, get a witchcraft monster from your graveyard, and go from there. But at least some more board presence in some type of way. I just think that this is what the deck is kind of trying to aim itself toward, is a lot of board presence, especially when it comes to trying to summon this lady, because they're primarily wanting to summon this lady as soon as possible, which I want to get into when I get into these level 4 lower monsters, because they all have the same ability of discarding a spell card, tributing themselves to summon a witchcraft monster from your deck. And the beautiful thing about Blacksmith is she can set up the graveyard as well by sending a spell, a witchcraft card from your deck to the graveyard, except for a copy of herself, which is not bad at all. It's great because you can set up with a lot of the other monsters, especially the draw power of the gemstones, or the, if I don't have a hand, pottery, activate and send a card back to my hand, so then I can be able to defend myself or get some stuff onto the board. And since we're going to speak on him anyway, Gemstones is the draw power. She's like your Lord Darkness. You draw a card, and if the card isn't a, you discard a spell, and if the spell isn't, no, you discard a witchcraft card from your hand, which that shouldn't be too hard because you can easily dump the monsters by triggering her effect. And if you don't have any, you have to banish your hand. I wish it had some way to recover a lot of the banished stuff. That way, you can easily take advantage of if you do end up losing your hand. I doubt you'll lose your hand because you'll have enough witchcraft stuff the way these cards work. But it is an option. It's just something to think of. Or hopefully next time or hopefully sooner or later when we get more support for this archetype, that will be something they'll include, a way to retrieve the spells that are banished or the monsters that are banished. I mean, we could use Burial from Different Dimension or find a spell or trap card that sends the spells back to the graveyard. But for right now, I think 3 of her isn't too bad because she still has draw power, and she still has that unique. She still has that ability to attribute herself to get a witchcraft monster from the deck and social summon it. And the only reason why I'm running 2 potteries is because I don't really think she's going to be as useful right now, because I don't really see this deck losing so much of its hand advantage. However, like I said, this Lone Fire Blossom effect is what makes her still relevant, and not too big of a body, not too bad of a defense either for such a low level monster. And then, of course, our hand traps cannot be complete without the biggest forehead in the game, and that is the Ash Blossom and Joyous Springs. Love her artwork, but that big forehead, and that big forehead just helps her do so much as a hand trap. Alright, let's move on to the spells. So we have our Rhoda in the form of Witchcraft Creation. We have our Monster Lord for Witchcraft Monsters in the form of Witchcraft Holiday. Witchcraft Draft is pretty much a Fortune Lady win or a storm. Just take whatever number of cards you have, your opponent's going to lose that many cards, having them returned to hand. I'm looking at Base Street and Scroll, and the only difference between them in terms of their main effects is once a turn when a spellcaster destroys a monster by battle, you'll draw a card. And Base Street says if the first time your monsters would be destroyed by battle or card effects, they are not. So it helps with that. Otherwise, you're putting them back onto the board, or you're sending them to the graveyard in exchange to activate the effects of a card that would discard. So it helps with pretty much all of your level 5 or higher monsters to have that ability. And then just some fill-ins, of course, when you're dealing with a format full of nothing but of spells, the Secret Village of the Spellcasters comes in handy, terraforming to help search for it. Foolish Burial of Goods was an odd choice, but because of how a lot of the spells work, you can easily just add them back to your hand during the end phase if you haven't activated their effects. So it really helps with the first turn, or in my case, I just go get Metaphor Fusion and have a free discard card in case I do draw into it for a lot of my Wind Witches effects. Or I can reveal it for my Madame Vere, and because it's a different name spell, it will work. Call by the Grave is to help deal with other hand traps or nasty monster effects in the graveyard. Monster Reborn is just in case I can't get into Witchcraft Holiday and I want an additional option. And of course, Regeki to blow away that field. I wasn't going to try to add in Darkhold, but I feel like that was extending too much. So I just wanted to hit with the Regeki. As far as the extra deck goes, because they don't have their own particular extra deck, if you wanted to, you could have thrown, and as an option, you can always throw in, set card, Pot of Extravagance, because my extra deck pretty much is just whatever. If I ever need to go into an extra deck, here are my options. I have my other Clock Taker, I have removal of spell and trap, removal of spells and traps and monsters, thanks to Cerberus, Unicorn, and Phoenix. I really don't think I'll even have the chance to even summon sorcerers, but if I do, at least I'll have another high level spellcaster on the board to do some damage. I was thinking of trying to fit in, Dazzle's Eyes Restrict in Instant Fusion, because I heard that variant wasn't too bad, and I can at least play Link Karibo for some more added defense. And then of course you have the big dragons, Barrel Sword and Barrel Reload Dragon, or Barrel Reload Dragon. I don't know how Barrel Load Dragon. There we go. And the only reason why I'm fitting these in is just because they're high level. They have high attack. The requirements take a lot more monsters, but why not? You got a free double attacker that can't be chained to, and then you have pretty much a big guy, and then you can just take out the monster and switch it in for someone else, because I have those options in there. As far as the Exceed monsters go, everybody's ranked for the most part, because I only have like one level 4 monster in here. Like I said, Pot of Extravagance will probably do a lot of help. But if I do ever get the 2 level 4s on the field, or I Monster Reborn a level 4 for my opponent, why not go for anything of the options to deal with, of course, graveyard effects, clean the board, clean the board, so that way I don't have to deal with any problematic stuff, and I can just retrieve my cards during end phase. You got Cowboy for the 800 burn. If I have to stall out, Babushka is there to help, and Utopia in its package is pretty much here to help run over stuff if Madame Vere can't. I mean, that's pretty much it. As far as the side deck goes that you guys do see, it's just some extra copy of cards, effect veilers, magical dimensions, infinity impervience. And I really don't like the trap card, to be real honest, and thank God I don't have to run it, because it does have no real setup for this deck. Like everything else, for the most part, does it on its own, and I really don't have to rely on it. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for this deck profile. I hope you all enjoy. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. HBJ signing out. Take care.